But my beats, they are hard.
All right, let's talk about that SWAC Baseball Tournament, which concluded all of its games on Saturday. Some interesting developments, though, and we'll go over this here in a second because not everybody finished their games this weekend. What was decided is the East was clearly decided after the first game of the series. FAMU's magic number was 2. They got a win. I think 7-4 was the opening game against Valley. And they were also fortunate they got a Bethune-Cookman loss. So the FAMU win and the Bethune-Cookman loss was essentially the magic number. FAMU was supposed to play a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They moved the Saturday game to a doubleheader on Friday. They won game 1 of the doubleheader and essentially clinched, in their own words, without any help from anybody else, but essentially they had won.
They had already won it Thursday.
Yeah, they already won it Thursday, but they did the whole. This graphic came out on Friday. They ended up losing, though, the third game to Valley. Valley ended up beating FAMU in the third game. Valley
they had nothing to play for.
Yeah, maybe so, but Valley did play well in that last game. I watched it. They looked good. So Valley ends their season with a win, and down the stretch, Valley did beat some people.
And Valley scared the crap. I was actually at Thursday's game. I sent you the clip. Valley scared the crap out of FAMU Thursday.
I think, yeah, it was a close game. It was closer than I think a lot of people thought it might be.
Yeah, wound up being 7-3 was the final, but into the 7th inning, Valley was in control of that game. Can't remember who hit the 3-run jack at the start of the game.
Mm-hmm.
3-run massive home run, and then that was pretty much it for FAMU.
I think it was Ty Jackson hit that 3-run homer because he had 2 of them.
Ty Jackson.
No.
Brady
Popple. No, okay, I'm gonna stop guessing because I know he hit a homer as well. But
23. Who wears 23?
Oh, Gianmichael Bastardo.
Yeah, John Michael.
Yeah.
It was John Michael. That's exactly who it was.
Okay, that's right. I do remember it. Now that you said it, I do remember.
And you want to know what was ironic about that? I was sitting there. I was taking a couple of videos, and I was like, I'm supposed to record this at bed. I got a funny feeling he supposed to do something good. And somebody started talking to me the pitch that he hit out the yard, and I had stopped the doggone stop recording.
See? People want to talk. Always messing up good stuff.
And the one he hit that was foul was further than that one. He almost hit the bus in over on the side street. the Valley's bus had just pulled up and parked. And everybody was like, hit the bus. We thought the bus was going to stop in fair territory. The bus stopped in foul territory, and he almost hit the bus.
Nice.
Yeah.
So FAMU wraps up the 1 seed in the East. Over on the West side, That's where it was pretty interesting. This one came down to win percentage. It was the Texas Southern Tigers winning the West. They
Playing
finished
the bare minimum.
right, the bare minimum, 18-6, playing 24 games. And essentially they win on win percentage, Drew, because here was the second and third place. Texas Southern, of course, they played a series against UAPB. They didn't play games 2 and 3. They only played game 1. They won that game 12-2 to give them their 18th win. Okay. Grambling, who was already one game behind Texas Southern, essentially 2 games behind in the loss column.
Right.
They won their first game against Southern 19-4 for their 18th win. They did not play the last 2 games against Southern due to weather. That was interesting, important, because had they swept Southern, they would have had 20 wins, possibly, assuming that they sweep Southern, right?
Mm-hmm.
That might have gotten them into the 1 seed on win percentage.
Who we talking about? Who we talking about here?
I'm saying that's Grambling. Grambling finished as the 2 seed with a record of 18-8, 2 games behind Texas Southern in the loss column.
Well, in just in the regular games, plus games, minus games, they would have been tied as far as games up and games back, because if they would have swept, they would have been 2 games up in the win column and 2 games back in the loss column, which essentially would have made them even. So, and at 28, it's 28 games.
And then would have come down to what? Head-to-head?
I mean, but they go by percentage no matter what.
So what? Yeah. So what's your win percentage if you're 20-8? That's 28 games.
7-14.
And compared to 18 out of 24.
7-5-0.
So Texas Southern still would have been 1.
If you go by win percentage, if you go by games like you do on the ML level,
no, I think SWAC goes by win percentage.
Yes.
Okay. Well, the 3 seed also has 18 wins. That's Prairie View A&M. Prairie View got
so that's not updated on the SWAC standings.
No. Prairie View got a sweep of Alcorn State to move to 18-9. Again, based on win percentage. Win percentage determines the seeding. Thank you, Doc, for confirming that. That's why you get Prairie View as the 3 seed. So essentially in the West,
everybody won the same amount of games.
Right.
Because
And then
certain teams played more based on those losses is basically how your seeds go.
Exactly. You had 3 teams with 18 wins. Obviously, Texas Southern had 3 less games than Prairie View and 2 less games than Grambling. So there it is. The 4th seed in the West is Southern. So, yeah. So here's the seeds to set the seeds for you. In the East, FAMU's the 1 seed, 22-8 conference record. Bethune-Cookman, the 2 seed in the East, 19-10. Alabama State, the 3 seed, 18-12. Jackson State, the 4 seed, 16-12. And again, over on the West, you've got Texas Southern to 1, Grambling to 2, Prairie View to 3, and Southern the 4.
You know what I find interesting, Brian?
Uh-huh.
Only 1, 2, 3 teams out of the 12 played their entire schedule.
Wow. That would be, let's see,
Florida
FAMU,
A&M,
Alabama State.
18-12, and Valley 3-27. Everybody made sure they got their Valley game in.
Yeah.
But you had additional 1, 2, 3 teams that only lost one game. But when I say lost one game to weather. Bethune played 29 games. Alabama A&M played 29 games, and Alcorn played 29 games.
Right. So let's take a look at the matchups. Again, as you have been great about pointing out, the SWAC Baseball Tournament at Rush Chandler Stadium, that's on the campus of Georgia Tech, right in downtown Atlanta. The game, where was I going here?
Emmett, you could have kept that to yourself.
That's what threw me off. I saw that when the game against oh my God, let me get my train of thought here. Where am I at?
You trying to get the schedule? You want me to read the schedule?
Okay, the brackets. Okay, so it's essentially 2 brackets.
Yeah,
that's where I was going to go. An A bracket and a B bracket.
Correct.
And so, unlike the softball tournament where all 8 teams and then it's just everybody grouped together,
a hodgepodge after that.
Yeah, you've got these 4 teams. So until the championship game, one of these 4 teams has to come out of this bracket.
Correct.
And so, as you can see it right there, the 1 seed is Texas Southern playing the 4 seed from the East, Jackson State. That game will take place Wednesday at 3 p.m. The very first game of the tournament is the 2 seed from the East, Bethune-Cookman, taking on the 3 seed from the West, Prairie View, and that's a 9 a.m. game. Over on bracket B, these are the 4 teams that will battle to get to the 1 championship game. You have 1 seed Florida A&M against 4 seed from the West, Southern. That's a Wednesday, 6 p.m. That is the last game of the day.
Which won't start at 6 o'clock.
Drew taking bets. It won't start at 6 o'clock.
7:30
And then
7:30 if you're lucky.
The midday game will be Grambling versus Alabama State, the 2 seed from the West, Alabama State from the East.
Yeah.
So, all right.
One piece of advice for the SWAC.
Okay.
Flip games 2 and 3. Keep bracket A in the morning. Keep bracket B in the afternoon. That way, no one gets penalized for having to go from the late afternoon game to 9 o'clock the next morning.
Well, I'll argue the point that it's designed for the 1 seed, because if you look at the path, look at the A bracket here. The path for the 1 seed is similar games at 3 o'clock.
At 3,
now,
the 1 seeds play at 3 and 6.
What happens though is when you advance
that 3 o'clock game,
right? If you lose the 3 o'clock game, now you're in a disadvantage. Or the opposite is true. You gain an advantage. For example, let's say Bethune or Prairie View advances after their first game. They have a 3 o'clock game. And then if they win that game, they're back again at 3 o'clock. So you start to gain the advantage when you knock off the 1 seed, pretty much.
Right. But my rationale, if that pod stays together at 9 and 12 the whole time, the elimination bracket at 9 after day 1, and the winners bracket at 12 after day 2, and the same thing with the other bracket 3 and 6, and then you alternate those every year, A bracket and B bracket. The only time you have to worry about the schedule is Sunday. And in theory, if you've handled your business, you got all day Saturday off anyway, so it really shouldn't matter what time you play on Sunday. But that keeps everybody in the morning, similar routine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Keeps everybody in the afternoon, similar routine in those two brackets. That's just my 2 cents.
Okay. As you can see, the B bracket, similar functions. I think this is about as I see your point, but even still, Drew, I still see 12 and 6, 12 and 6, 12 and 6. I mean,
3-6 would be better.
Okay. It'd be interesting to find out why it is the way it is. I mean, I think both ways the same is being accomplished, in my opinion. But I get your point. I do get your point. Okay, let's take a look at these matchups. First game of the day: Bethune-Cookman versus Prairie View. I went through some exhaustive notes trying to go through and really break down just some things that I found interesting in this. So you tell me, what you hear in this and so on and so forth. Let's start with the Prairie View side of things. What I found interesting, Prairie View has won 13 of the last 15 SWAC games that they have played. I think Prairie View might be the hottest team coming into the tournament. Okay, now that's void of who they played. I'm just talking about product on the field. In terms of SWAC games, they have won 13 of the last 15 SWAC games. And I find that interesting because Prairie View is having a good end of the season, very similar to the start of the season. The start of the season, they went 3-0 in the Cactus Jack in Houston, where they beat Grambling, Texas Southern, and Alcorn. Then they went down to Florida, went 3-0 in the Andre Dawson Classic against A&T, FAMU, and Alabama State, right? So you kind of bookend their season with the start, 6-0 start, and sort of winning 13 of these last 15 SWAC games. Now, there have been some rocky roads for Prairie View in the middle of the season. No one can forget they lost to University of Houston 27-1. They lost to Texas State 23-2. They lost to New Mexico State 22-4. I mean, damn.
Those are big weeks, Brian. They are what they are.
Okay, I'm pointing out, I don't, they happened, Drew, is what I'm saying. They happened. Okay.
Now, Brian, go back to the Andre Dawson Classic.
Okay.
Who was the one East team they did not play? That's in this tournament.
Now you're trying to make me look through who was in this tournament. Well, there was only two. There was only two teams in the East in it: FAMU and Alabama State.
Okay. I thought, who was the third team in there besides Prairie View?
Well, you had A&T.
Okay, well, I'm sorry.
A&T.
But who did they not play?
Hold on.
The East team that they did not play.
I believe there were only 4 teams in the Andre.
The opening matchup.
No, there were 6. There were 6. I'm sorry.
The opening matchup is against the team that they did not play in the Andre Dawson Classic.
They didn't play. They didn't play
Bethune. They didn't play Bethune.
Bethune wasn't in it. They didn't play Jackson State. Wasn't. They didn't play Jackson State.
Right. So they have not seen Bethune. And if there's one team that scares me, even though FAMU is the number one seed, it's the other team in Florida because they own the season series against FAMU. I believe they're the only team in the East who owns the season series, winning 4-6.
Yes. Yeah.
So, they are going up probably, arguably the second best, if not possibly the best team in the East. You're going
Yeah.
up against one. You're going up against 1A.
You're going up against what?
1A. If FAMU is 1, Bethune has to be 1A.
No, Bethune is 2. Don't give them that credit. Bethune is 2.
Bryan,
2.
they won the season series. They are 1A.
Okay, hold up. I got those stats for you. Bethune, yes, they won 4 of 6 against FAMU, but they also lost 4 of 6 against Alabama State, Drew. So before you so quick to crown them, okay,
is Alabama State on that side of the bracket?
They are not on that side of the bracket. No.
Okay, so let's throw that out.
Well, how can Drew? What are you doing? Go ahead. They're 2, Drew. They're the 2 seed from the East. Stop calling them 1A. Doggone it. Matter of fact, it wouldn't be 1A. It'd be 1B.
Well, what game? 1B then?
No, they're 2. Stop it. Doggone it. They're 2 in the East. Stop it. Don't do that.
Bryan, here's the question. How, for lack of a better word, how pissed off would the SWAC be if it's all Florida, if it's a Florida Classic Part 2?
Well, before we go that far, let's continue with the breakdown of this matchup. All right. It is what it is, okay? Which I do think is the kind of interesting. We'll talk about that and talk. We can look at it and say who benefited from losing to whom. And I think possibly Bethune-Cookman did benefit, in my opinion, in this respect. Now, I have a lot of respect for Bethune. I do have respect for them. The fact that I just pointed out that they won 4 of 6 against FAMU. They even won 3 of the 5 games that they played Jackson State. So that bears well for them. Plus, Bethune has some very good non-conference wins, which to me, of any team in the SWAC, probably have the best non-conference wins amongst anybody. They beat the University of Miami, Stetson, North Florida, Jacksonville, FIU, Florida Gulf Coast, and even had one run or close losses to Stetson. They played 2 against Stetson, lost. Each game was a 1-run game. They had 2 close games against South Florida. They played a close game against Florida State, 3 runs. They split the 2 games with FIU. When they don't have any bad losses the way Prairie View A&M had those bad losses where they got 3 touchdowns put up on them. They didn't have those kind of bad losses. I mean, Bethune's worst losses were they lost 11-0 to Jacksonville and 14-1 to UCF. But again, I'm telling you, when you look at the other side of their good wins, there's a lot of good wins for Bethune. Now here's what's the shame of this, Drew. It's a shame that this is your 9 a.m. game because I think this is the only matchup where the 2 teams did not play during the season. But I think this is your most intriguing matchup because of everything that I've just kind of spotlighted. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree with you. Now, here's the question, Bryan. So obviously, somebody's going to lose that game. Which team, if they should lose, is in the best position to fight their way back?
Well, a part of that depends on the other matchup, correct?
Okay.
All right, let's take a look at that other matchup. Texas Southern and Jackson State, right? Both teams, they played each other before, all the way back in February at the Cactus Jack. Texas Southern won that game 9-5. Jackson State, of course, has lost the majority of their games to their big three in the East, which is why, obviously, they're number 4. They lost 5 of 6 to FAMU, 4 of 6 to Alabama State, and 3 of 5 to Bethune. Okay. The only team in the West of significance that they've beaten was Grambling. They're 2-0 against Grambling. Okay. And let me see. I got Jackson State here. So how about Texas Southern? Because you talked about wins and losses, and let's just say, if you get you have a potential matchup looking out of the elimination bracket, right? Well, Texas Southern, they won 2 out of 3 in the Cactus Jack, where they beat Jackson State, as mentioned, and they also beat Southern. Texas Southern has won all their meetings against Southern. That doesn't really help them out. If they do face Prairie View, they're 2-2 against Prairie View this year. Okay. And Texas Southern has lost 4 of 6 games at Grambling. This is the flaw of the win percentage, Drew, right here. And I try all credit. Hey, Texas Southern did what you're supposed to do. You're the 1 seed, right? But Texas Southern also has an ugly stretch in their schedule, Drew, where they lost 13 Division I games, 13 of them in a row to Division I opponents. So coming off that 2 of 3 in the Cactus Jack, they had a bad non-conference, losing 13 games to D1 opponents, and then the SWAC schedule starts up, and it's like, okay, let's get some wins going. And the only team that they really struggled with was Grambling State. They lost 4 of 6 to Grambling. They're really happy that Grambling is not on their side of the bracket.
And went even against Prairie View.
All right. So the question you ask is, who has the possible advantage?
Coming out the elimination bracket. Because like I say, somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose.
Yeah, I actually think you're going to see at some point, you're going to see a rematch between Bethune and Prairie View. Somebody will have to overcome an earlier loss, or somebody will have to beat the other person 2-0. I really think the winner of that bracket A will come out of the Bethune Prairie View matchup. That's my thought.
And if that should happen, that will be Friday night. Well, Friday afternoon at 3:00. That rematch.
Yeah.
And should the game 1 loser win Friday night, then we'll have to be in the ballpark on Saturday for an if game.
Right. I do think Texas Southern is the intriguing team. Who is Texas Southern? Are they for real? Do you buy into Texas Southern? When I was looking at a lot of the statistics, I don't see a lot of Texas Southern in a lot of the stats that I was looking at that I thought are important in terms of team overall stats. So that's why I think that, should you eventually have, let's just say Bethune wins, and eventually you do get, I think Prairie View, Jackson State were to play, I think Prairie View would win that game. And I think if Prairie View had to play Texas Southern, I think that would be an interesting matchup. And I think Prairie View would win that game. I'm trying to see. Did I mention what the record was between Prairie View and Texas Southern?
2-2.
2-2. Yeah. So yeah. So we'll see. Who do you have coming out of the bracket A?
Bracket
And again,
A.
I'm saying it's a coin toss for me. I really don't. I'm honestly calling it a coin toss between Bethune and Prairie View. I can't. I'm not trying to be a hater towards Bethune, but I think Prairie View is capable.
I've already put it out there, Brian. I think the two Florida teams are going to come out this bracket again. Out these brackets again.
All right, so you got Bethune coming out of bracket A. I'm gonna hold my tongue until the games are actually played. Let's move over to bracket.
That's no fun for a podcast, Brian.
No, it's not. It's not. But see, if I say Prairie View, then I got people thinking, oh, you're being a hater towards Bethune. I put it like this. I don't want to see Bethune in the championship. Let me just say.
Oh, I definitely don't.
So I'm shading my answer towards the team who I'd least like to see in the championship, Bethune-Cookman.
The team who you least like to see is probably the team that's going to be there.
Well,
that's usually how that goes.
If they get there, God bless them. But I'm all credit to Coach Hernandez, man. Hey, if you get there, good luck to you guys, Coach. But just take that as a sign of respect from me that I would rather not see y'all in the championship game. With all due respect.
Bethune, and I hate to say this, Bethune would be the only team that I would not favor FAMU against coming out of their top bracket.
That's a good way of putting it. I wouldn't disagree for many of factors, including the fact that we beat them last year and they've beaten us 4 out of 6 times. That's fair. That's good handicap.
The only caveat that I will say, and that will swing me one way or the other, will be if one of those teams or both of those teams get to that game without having to play an if game, because that will sway my my thinking one way or the other. Because if you have one team coming into Sunday without having to play on Saturday, where they've gotten a full approximately at least 36 hours of rest, that's definitely would play a factor in who you would pick on Sunday.
Right. Good point. Okay. Let's talk about Edwin says, what am I basing my, I'm not sure. Edwin, be a little more specific. You want me to what am I basing my reasonings on? Let me know. We'll come back to it in a second. Okay, let's go over to the bracket B. At noon on Wednesday, you've got the 2 seed Grambling State taking on Alabama State, the 3 seed. These teams met in the Andre Dawson Classic, February 24th. Alabama State won that game 5-4 in 10 innings. Grambling, very curious start to their season. They lost 2 of the 3 games in the Cactus Jack. The only team they beat was Southern. Then they lost all 3 games in the Andre Dawson Classic. They lost to FAMU, Alabama State, as mentioned, and North Carolina A&T. Although, honestly, I think all of those games were close. They were all close games. Grambling lost all 3, but I think they were all close. Overall, against Eastern Division teams, Grambling has lost 2 of 3 games this season against FAMU. They've played Jackson State twice. They've lost both of those games. And then they played Prairie View 7 times, and they've lost 4 of the 7 games to Prairie View. Okay. So where is Grambling's good wins this year, Drew? I think the only good wins that Grambling has had have been against Texas Southern, 4 of 6, which, again, if I'm Grambling State, I really wish, and I think the series that didn't get played was Prairie View, Texas Southern. I think that was one of the 2 series that Texas Southern didn't play. If I'm Grambling, I really wish that series would have got played. Grambling probably should be the 1 seed on the West. I'm just going to go ahead and say it, Drew. I think Grambling probably had the best case to be the 1 seed in the West. Again, schedules are what they are. Okay. Grambling's bad losses this year were to Arkansas 21-1 and to LSU 26-2. Okay. Again, I told you good wins against Texas Southern. But Grambling's a bit of an enigma to me. Now, Alabama State. They lost 2 of 3 in the Cactus Jack as well. With their only win coming against, guess who? Grambling. Alabama State, they lost. Here's where this may become an advantage. Well, not necessarily an advantage, but a little familiarity. Alabama State, of course, they went 2-2 against Southern this year. So they played Southern 4 times this year, and they split. They won. They split the series against Jackson State, and they split the series against Bethune-Cookman, meaning they went 3-3. The only team that Alabama State really had trouble with is that team that's the number 1 seed, FAMU. They've lost 5 of 6 games to FAMU. So, but don't discount, hey, here's an Alabama State team that they beat Auburn, on the road 3-2. They beaten the South Alabama team 12-2. This is an interesting matchup. Some interesting scenarios could play out. There's a lot of familiarity on this B bracket, Drew, I think.
Yeah. I want to get back to one comment before I say something. Edward Bull asked what I was basing my comments on. The fact that I think Bethune has some of the best pitching in the East, of the teams in the East, if not the best pitching, in my opinion. Now, are we breaking down Grambling, Alabama State, or are we just breaking down this whole bracket?
Well, we can break down Grambling, Alabama State, or do you want me to go through? I can give you the info on the FAMU Southern, and then we can break it down in general.
Okay, do that, and then I'll just break it down.
Okay, so the other game in this bracket is a 6:00 start. That's FAMU versus Southern. These teams met in the Andre Dawson Classic. FAMU won that game 16-1. Yikes. Okay, that was all the way back on February 25th, though. Over the course of this season against other teams in the tournament, FAMU won 2 of 3 games versus Grambling. Now, interesting, though, all of those were 1-run games, though, Drew. So, even though FAMU won 2 of the 3, they were all 1-run ball games. FAMU has dominated. They won 5 of 6 versus Jackson State. They won 5 of 6 versus Alabama State. Okay. As mentioned, the only team that has given them trouble that's in this tournament is Bethune. They've lost 4 of 6 games to Bethune. Okay. Each 3-game series, 1 and 2. Southern, on the other hand, Southern season up and down, all over the place. I mean, of course, they have the highlighted win against LSU on the road back on April 1st. Southern has fared well against Prairie View. They won 4 of 6 versus Prairie View. They won 3 of 5 versus Grambling. Take into consideration 2 games didn't get played the end of the season, but they had won 3 of 5 versus Graham. Unfortunately for Southern, they are 0-6 versus Texas Southern. And what's even worse, they are 1-4 against Alabama State, who is, guess what, in this bracket. So tough start here for Southern, but it'll be hit or miss to kind of see how the field plays out following. All right, so now we can break down the bracket, Drew.
I just want to know what Jeremiah Clark over there smoking before I even get into my breakdown. He rolled a fat one because I don't know what he got going on. Talking about Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the question. Here's the thing, Brian. Can you get good Southern versus average FAMU? Because we've seen average FAMU before.
Where?
We've seen some average fan. We've seen when FAMU has not been on their best day. That's what I mean by average. When they're not at the top of their game. And we've seen good Southern. Because Southern is the most inconsistent team of the 8 teams in this tournament. Do those paths cross on Wednesday with good Southern and average FAMU? I hope not as a FAMU fan, but I have to ask that question.
I think that's a good question. I do think we're headed towards a FAMU Alabama State in the second round.
That's what the metrics would say, but I do have Southern. If Southern comes out now, the thing that I'm gonna think with Southern, I don't see Southern, even if they were to defeat Florida A&M, I don't see Southern getting any other wins because of the inconsistency. I don't see Southern coming out to the single more than one victory. I think they'll go solid 1-2.
I think they could beat. I think the one team I think that they're familiar with is Grambling, though, Drew. I think if both teams are in the losers elimination bracket, I think they could get a win over. Yeah, I think they could get a win over Grambling.
That would be the one.
Okay.
They're gonna win one. They're gonna win one game.
So you don't think Grambling gets a win in this tournament? That's what I'm hearing. That's what it sounded like. Come on now, these people aren't going to recognize you when you get to the SWAC tournament, Drew. Come on now,
like hell they won't. I'm going out, but I'm going out there on that nail. I'm going out on that nail.
What limb is that?
So, 2 teams have to go 0-2, Brian.
They do.
Numbers say they have to go 0-2.
They do. Who are they?
In the what's this? The B bracket.
The B bracket.
I say I have to. It's gonna be between. I'm thinking between Grambling and Southern. Southern is sneaky good. I think Southern gets, if Grambling and Southern play, I think Southern gets that victory. So I have to go with Grambling.
Okay.
On the other side, Bethune, definitely not Bethune. The Bethune Prairie View, definitely no. Neither one of those will go 0-2.
You know who I'm gonna say it is. You know who already. I'm gonna say who it is.
You going with Jackson State?
I am going with Jackson State.
Correct. Didn't Texas Southern go 0-2 last year? They came in with a favorable record.
I think they
with a top seed. I
They
think
weren't top
Texas
seed
Southern.
last year. They were not top seed.
They were like number 2, weren't they? Last year. I know Texas Southern went. If it wasn't last year, it was the year before when they came in and went 0-2.
They lost last
And
year. Last year they went 0-2
no,
last year.
I'm thinking back to maybe 2 years in a row. And the only reason I remember is because I was next to Dr. Cavill. I don't remember if it was last year or year before, and I was like, "Dang, Doc, Texas is done." After like the second day of the tournament, second or third day of the tournament, I was like, "Texas is done."
So who is it, Drew? Come on. Get off the fence. Come on now.
Hell! I'm going all East, Brian. I'm going for all East. I'm going all East Final Four.
Wait a minute. So, but you didn't answer the question. Who's going 0-2 in the A bracket?
Let's see. That means if I'm going all East, I'm going out there. I hope Doc don't fire me for not doing his show on Thursday.
You're saying Texas? You're on Texas Southern's going 0-2?
I'm going out on a limb, man.
Wow. Is that going on a limb?
Not really. You know something.
You're so wishy-washy.
I am wishy-washy on this one, and I'm the one who asked the doggone question. J State. I'm going J State.
I pressured you. Now you're gonna say I pressured you into it. Oh my God.
Final answer, J State.
Okay. Since you asked that question about who's going 0-2, and I answered, and you tiptoed around it long enough. Let me ask this question: which SWAC West team? We obviously we have our affinity for the SWAC East, but I'm going to flip it. Which SWAC West team makes it to the championship game? If there is a SWAC East team,
the bracket championship game or the championship game?
The SWAC championship game held on Sunday, May 26th at 1:00. If there's a SWAC West team, who will it be?
PV. I got PV.
You got PV, huh?
PV. Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I already told you. I told you I had to go with the Bethune Prairie View matchup. I'm right there with you. I'm going Prairie View as well. If there's a team from the SWAC West that gets there, it's Prairie View.
And I think out the East, honestly, anybody but Jackson State.
So it's wide open for anybody but Jackson State.
Anybody but Jackson State.
Yes, Edwin. So we're saying that Jackson State, I don't know about losing to Prairie View. We're saying they will lose to Texas Southern and whoever comes out as the loser of Bethune versus Prairie View. So, yeah. Doc says, Doc, in terms of the question about who comes out of the West, or no, excuse me, this is Edwin. Edwin says he goes with Grambling or Southern to what? To get to the championship? That's your Western team, Edwin?
I get you Grambling over Southern.
Doc says Grambling comes in very focused. He thinks they come in focused for this tournament after their disappointment being the regular season. Yeah, that is true. That's the one caveat about Grambling is they could come in very focused with the fact that they missed. And again, they got off to such a good start in that series against Southern. I know they were really probably upset that they didn't get a chance to play all three of those games. Although Drew, as you pointed out, based on win percentage, it wouldn't have mattered. They still would have finished in second based on win percentage.
Right. Although, Brian, have we talked about it for the last 2 weeks that the weather was going to play a factor in the seeding?
Yes, you did. You did say that. I think you were right.
And speaking of weather, Brian, just
Mhm.
so everyone knows, there is rain in the forecast Friday evening and Saturday evening in Atlanta.
Well, it sounds like they'll be playing a lot of baseball on Saturday then. Day.
So you could, in theory,
Morning and day.
yeah. If you happen to, and the one thing you don't want to happen during tournament time is the dreaded suspended game,
Oh, yeah.
because you burn a pitcher. Not especially if it's Friday. You not only do you burn that pitcher probably for the tournament, but it really affects it affects the outcome Saturday, especially if Friday, if the team out of the elimination bracket wins. Now you're playing a doubleheader again, because you just started a doubleheader on Friday. Now you got to play another doubleheader because you won the first game and come back that evening to play again.
Mm-hmm. Good points there. Edwin brings up about the Southern. Do you buy into the Southern mystique in the SWAC baseball tournament? Are you buying into it?
I buy into the Jackson State mystique quicker than I buy into Southern right now.
What mystique is that about Jackson State? That they don't do well in the tournament?
Jackson State has done a few things in the tournament too. Now Southern does wear a glass slipper come tournament time. I will give them that.
Let me see if this will sway any of your thoughts here. Let me give you some end of the season team statistics. I kind of did a little dive to say this is kind of my last little nugget here. Some of the batting, pitching, and fielding numbers that I thought are indicative of who might be worthy of winning. The team that had the top batting average overall, this is conference and non-conference, Jackson State. They hit 323 as a team this year. Alabama State was second with an average of 320. Grambling was third, 313. FAMU was fourth, 300 even. So those are only four teams to overall on the season bat 300. Now, in just conference games, though, Grambling goes from 313 up to 347, which is the tops in conference games. So that's almost a 33 point difference. FAMU, even bigger jump from non-conference to conference, where they go from 300 up to 343. Okay. Alabama State is sort of consistent. They went from 320 up to 335. And the team that really wasn't in the top four non-conference, but all of a sudden when they got to conference, Texas Southern, that 330 in conference games. Okay. How about power numbers? The team that had the most home runs this year, Alabama State with 58. FAMU second with 56. Southern third with 43. The team that draws the most walks. I thought this was an interesting stat. Drawing the most walks. Prairie View drew the most walks in the SWAC, 269. Right behind them was Bethune-Cookman, 268. So only one behind. And then FAMU at 262. And then kind of a interesting number here. The team that struck out the most and the team who struck out the fewest overall during the course of the year, FAMU struck out the most among all the teams in the tournament, third overall in the conference, tops among the 8 teams. The team that struck out the fewest amount of times overall was Alabama State.
So they putting the ball in play. Hey, Bryan, you talking a lot of good stuff over there, but it's tournament time. You know what that means?
What's that?
Good pitching beats good hitting any day of the week.
All right.
This is why I'm not confident on a West team being in the finals. The top 1, 2, 3, 4 teams in ERA all come from the East.
Yes, indeed.
Bethune-Cookman 483, Florida A&M 550, Jackson State 571, and Alabama State 598. There's even a team who's not in the tournament who has an ERA better than every Western team in the tournament. That being UAPB.
Oh, man.
Top team from the West. The West takes up spots 6 through 9. 775, 788, 820. Oh, I'm sorry. Southern,
Ooh.
775. Prairie View, 788. Grambling, 820. Texas Southern, 898. I officially changed my pick. That 898 scares me.
For who? Wait a minute. Who had the 898?
Texas Southern has an 898 ERA.
But again, Texas Southern also had, go back to what I told you, that's sort of inflated though, because go back again, Texas Southern had games where what?
These are conference only stats, Bryan.
Oh, conference only. Okay.
These are conference only stats that I'm looking at. No, sir.
Yeah, but see that's the problem with the conference only stats is it's West versus West, East versus East, which is hard to look at that stat because they don't intermingle against each other.
Okay, Bryan. Here's a stat that it doesn't matter who you play. Fielding percentage. Florida A&M is number 1. Fielding percentage 966. Who's right behind them, Bryan? Bethune 965.
That goes right along with the fewest errors as well, right?
Exactly.
Grambling actually had the fewest errors fielding, and then followed up by FAMU and Bethune.
Which puts them number 3 at the 964 fielding percentage. But my point is, 4 of the top 5 teams defensively come from the Eastern representatives. Because number 4 and 5 are Alabama State and Jackson State.
Let me go back to answer Edwin. So I just gave that. Who has the fewest errors this year? It's Grambling with 58, FAMU with 65, Bethune 68. So again, when I feel like some of the numbers, like when I mean outside of Drew's pitching numbers that he told you about the ERAs, when you look at the teams that threw the fewest number of walks, pitching wise, you got FAMU and Bethune right there, 2nd and 3rd overall in the conference, but also top among these 8 teams. The teams that threw the most walks, Prairie View and Grambling, followed up by Jackson State, Texas Southern.
Did you get the stolen base number?
I couldn't find that number. Now I saw the stolen base attempts and the caught stealing. I didn't really see an actual stolen base number.
Right, that's the defense. That's defensively.
Okay.
Grambling has teams are standing at an 873 a clip. Teams have attempted to steal 110 bases against Grambling. Tops of all the teams in the tournament. The only team in the tournament where somebody's tried to steal over 100 times. Prairie View is right behind them at 95. Best in the tournament, Florida A&M, 42. followed by Jackson State, 57 attempts, and Bethune, 65 attempts.
Wow. All right. So I think that kind of covers it. Obviously with these predictions, everything can go wrong right after the first pitch on day one. So we'll kind of see.
And everything will go wrong.
Yeah, possibly, because that's why they play the game.
Yeah.
That is why they play the game. So again, tickets are on sale. The SWAC Championship Baseball Tournament, Rush Chandler Stadium, Atlanta, Georgia. The games will stream on the SWAC Digital Network. If you heard our interview last week, Charles Edmond will be there calling the games, along with, I know he said Simone Stanley will be there. I think did he say Coach Kadar was going to be there?
No, I think he mentioned Torrey Hunter may be doing some color
Hunter,
analysts.
okay.
Yes, I think that's who he said.
Okay.
Torrey Hunter this year might be getting
right.
in on some color action. But
right.
we are, I know a couple of times, we are planning on doing some live shows from there.
Okay.
Some of our regular shows. Hopefully I'll be there in time Wednesday where you guys can do a live cut in during the ONG, because the ONG will overlap with the game on Wednesday. Not sure if you're going to do a watch party on Wednesday or not, but I should be there. Thursday, I believe, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab will air from there. So that'll be Thursday's show. Who knows? Doc may even be there to come on and retake the big chair from me.
Okay.
All right. We'll probably, might as well probably do something on Friday and Saturday, just an update from the tournament. We definitely gonna do something Sunday. Let's see, we do the SportsWrap Sunday from the stadium. Do it early. Do a post game. We'll figure that out.
I remember we did that last year, right?
We did it early last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it pregame last year because we knew we weren't going to be in any type of condition after the game. Because if FAMU would have won, obviously we were celebrating. If FAMU would have lost, we'd have been crying. So we did it early.
We'll be in the mood for it one way or the other, right?
We bought the SportsWrap as the pregame show last year, so we'll figure that out.
We'll figure it out. All right. But all right, let's get ready to get out here. Again, want to encourage you to check out our YouTube channel. Join the Black College Sports Network via the Jericho Broadcast Network's YouTube page, youtube.com/myjbnonline/join. 3 different donation levels. All of it goes to help support the BCSN and all of our shows and things that we are doing. Looking forward to releasing some new info, some new shows, some new road trips and things like that coming up in the fall. So we want to encourage you to go ahead and support Black media by joining our YouTube page. As always, if you want to donate to the show, you can drop a super chat on the JBN YouTube page, or you could donate to the Cash App, my JBN, my BCSN, and you can support the show that way. If you see Drew, if you're going to the SWAC Baseball Tournament, you see Drew, make sure to give him a shout out, of course. Don't hold any of his predictions against him. We're just trying to be a bulletin board material for for somebody. We'll see. I know we'll hear about it later. Somebody will say something. So, but it's good luck to all the teams. Congratulations.
I'm still surprised Coach Hernandez come on our shows after the bulletin board material we gave him last year.
Well, look, hey, I wish all of the teams luck. I mean, it's very clear where our allegiances lie, but congratulations to all of the 8 teams. And we hope you play well. We hope all the arms are well. You hope everybody's healthy. and let's just see the best. Let's just see the best performances. That's what I hope. If anything, that's what we get a chance to see.
Here's the key to the tournament, Brian. Look at your Sunday starter. Look at your midweek starter. And then it happens every year. There's somebody who has only pitched once during the season, twice during the season, during the midweek, or may not have pitched at all, who comes and wins a big game for a team. Who will that be this year? Who will he play for?
Great point.
It happens every year.
It does. We shall see.
Sunday starter, midweek starter. Those are going to be the key on the teams that advance.
All right, there you are. You heard it here first. That's what you're looking out for. So everybody enjoy the upcoming week of SWAC baseball. Again, all of the games will be broadcast on the SWAC Digital Network. Good luck to Delaware State over in the NEC. Congratulations to all of the softball teams that participated in their tournaments this past week. And that's going to do it for this show. For A.D. Drew, I'm Brian Fulford. Pacers in 6. That's right. I called it. Eastern Conference Finals, baby. Taking out the Celtics. Pacers in 6.
Travel light, everybody.
Travel light. Peace out.
But you stay hard.